Hey, media.
Perpetuating lies and deception is the only thing that you seem to know. And you thought that you'd be safe in your tower.
Yeah, you thought you'd be safe, huh?
From the people below. But the truth is
the truth.
Your foundation by so many people now in the know.
You thought that you'd see the day that you could just get away by the ones you betrayed. You raise their voices to say,
you won't be trusted anymore.
All right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're situated on this great, big, beautiful blue globe floating through the void of Yah's creation. It's Wednesday, hump day, don't you be a chump and crump day. It's the WTF Reports. I'm your host, Dave vonKleist. And yeah, the media, I tell you, they're in bed with the enemy. They really are. And I tried to tell you 20 years ago in this song.
Are things freer in America today than they were a couple years ago?
Are we freer in America?
Broadcast stations we control, induced complacency, the goal. Let people think that they are free. Distractions broadcast on TV. Our influence in Washington make people do what we aren't done. Eventually, when we are through, they'll do just what we tell them to.
I don't know, man. I guess it was kind of prophetic. All those years ago, I tell you, you no listen. I tell you over, you no listen to me. I tell you. Anyway, yeah, it's all coming to head. It's all coming to a head. Anyway, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. If you are listening to this broadcast live, that means that you are on the Eastern Coast in the Eastern Time Zone, Eastern Standard Time, 2:05 p.m., or on the Pacific Coast, that would be at 11:05 a.m. If you're listening during those times, then you're listening live, and that means you can call in. And the phone number here is 215-867-8255. So you're welcome to participate. Oh, and I have to turn that on, as a matter of fact. Don't call yet. I didn't turn on the phone yet. I have to connect that. So anyway, okay. Things are going absolutely bat crap crazy. People are noticing. People all over the country and indeed all over the world are finally putting the puzzle pieces together. And it's amazing. Over the past week, and I mentioned this yesterday and the day before, that there has been an explosion of pro-Israel posts on social media. I mean, I was scrolling through X yesterday, or was it Monday? I don't know, a couple days ago, and I would say 8 out of 10 posts were like, I stand with Israel, F Palestine, and stuff like that. Well, guess what? Today, I'm not seeing hardly any. I think that maybe, just maybe, some of these people who decided that they were going to accept the $7,000 per post have come to realize, oh my gosh, I just made a black mark on my soul. I think they're starting to realize that. And I think that people are starting to look at the contributions, or shall I say the bribes, that many of your elected officials have been taking, and they're starting to realize that these elected officials have sold out their country. And some of them, they've done so for like $20,000. I mean, some of your congresspersons have taken $100,000, $200,000, $500,000, over $1 million. I mean, take a look at Hakeem Jeffries. Let me see. Let me look that up here. I'm going to take a look here because I have an entire file here on AIPAC, and I can look up. I've been making screenshots every time I see one of these talking heads. Let me see. Hakeem Jeffries. He's accepted $1,742,106 from AIPAC. Now, some of these representatives, man, they take $20,000. And you stop and think about this. These elected officials who are supposed to represent their constituency and they're supposed to stand for America, and they accept a bribe for less than it costs to buy a car, a used car for that matter. They've sold their country out for shekels, for silver. And people are starting to see this. People all over the country are saying, WTF, what the heck do you think you're doing? And I got a clip here. I was going to make an audio clip of Save This, but there was so much noise in the background. But I'm going to play this anyway. I'm going to take it directly from the post. It was posted on X. Let me see if I can find it. I'm scrolling back up here. Okay, yeah, here it is. Okay, let me see. They are looking at, who is this? Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to play this. I'll get the name. A congressional representative was at a town hall meeting, and this is what he had to face. Listen to this. The guy, okay, this is Brian Steele, and he accepted $130,303 from AIPAC. And with all that noise, there was a man standing up. He says, do you have a heart? Do you have a heart? Let me start this again here. 2 million people. 2 million people are starving. Do you have a heart? Do you have a heart? 130,000. Brian Steele.
I want to have you address the question that was shouted about the starving children in Gaza.
Israel has a right to defend itself.
Oh, Israel has a right to defend itself. It's like a mantra. It's like a chant. He just said that, and listen to the crowd reaction.
It's genocide! You believe in genocide?
I am so disappointed. I am so disappointed in how you represent us.
I don't think you're the right fit for us anymore.
It's time to go, she
You
says.
don't relate to most of the places anymore, and you got to know when to step down. I think it's time.
Okay, so you're getting the general gist of it. Now, this kind of town hall meeting is going on all over the country. People are standing up to their congressional representatives. They've looked it up. They know that they've been paid off. And I'll tell you, people are noticing all over the world what's been going on. And, of course, yesterday, yesterday was the anniversary of the attack in Israel. But yet, oh gosh, there's so much stuff coming out. Videos of, you remember they said the concert goers and they were massacred by Hamas? I wonder where Hamas got direct energy weapons, because we're looking at the video footage of the flyby of all the cars that were parked at that concert. And half of them were melted. Now, you tell me where Hamas had the technology to melt the cars. That doesn't make sense. And then also, some IDF soldiers were testifying at the Knesset. And the only thing I could do here is I'll see if I can read the translation. I could play the audio, but you wouldn't understand it. But I'm going to read these are the IDF soldiers testifying at the Knesset about what happened on October 7th. And here it is. He says, at 6:30 in the morning, October 7th, let me see, we were... before 6:30, I was a soldier at the mortar platoon of the Galana Brigade's 5th Battalion, and that night myself, Yamir, my sergeant, Tamir Ben Yehuda, may he rest in peace, the three of us were pulling an all-nighter. On Sabbath and holidays, we let ourselves pull all-nighters until the dawn, and you know, in the mortar platoon, we have time to sleep until the next stand. So at 5:20 a.m., we're sitting by the radio so as not to wake the radio operator. And my deputy battalion commander, Nir Bunfeld, who was seriously injured, and thank God he survived, suddenly gets on the radio with a strong message. All stations, I don't know why, I don't know how. Something along the platoon, no patrol. Let me see what time it was. Ooh, okay, that ended. Anyway. Tried to keep up with that as quickly as I could. But the point is that they were informed at 5:20 in the a.m. to basically stand down. Now, we've been hearing about the stand down order, and of course, Charlie Kirk mentioned that. And of course, we'll get to Charlie Kirk in just a couple of seconds. But people are now starting to understand what the Hannibal Directive is. And I've been screaming this from the rooftops about that documentary film. And it's Israel was behind the attacks of October 7th, and it was 100% an inside job. If you haven't seen that documentary with all the interviews of the IDF soldiers and the security people, you've got to see this. And people are noticing. They really are. They're getting it. Absolutely, they're getting it. And let me see. There's several clips I wanted to get to. Let's see here. I'll tell you what. Let's talk about Charlie Kirk for a minute. I think that Charlie Kirk was noticing. Charlie Kirk was not a stupid man. He was very intelligent. He, from what I can groke, it seems like he had a photographic memory. He could quote, page, line, and verse from the Bible and lots of political documents. He had his stuff together. And I can't help but think, like I said, he's not a stupid man. I think that he started to understand who the Ashkenazis were, who the Khazarians were or are. I think he started to understand what it meant in the book in the Bible in 844. I think he understood what Revelation 2:9 meant. I think he understood what Revelation 3:9 meant. I think he understood what the Star of Remphan meant. Maybe he didn't understand that 4 or 5 years ago, but I think he came to understand that. And I think once he came to understand that, and once he started to take a look at the October 7th thing and understand what the Hannibal Directive was or is, I think this is why he was backing out and said, I can't support the Israel cause anymore. And so Candace Owens, she is on it, folks. She is on this. And all of the folks out there condemning and ridiculing and calling her names, I tell you, you're going to be found out. Because you have to ask the question, common sense, folks, and I know it's illegal, I know it's frowned upon and shunned. Anybody who thinks outside of the narrative is a crazy conspiracy theorist. But I do believe that Charlie had come to realize what was going on. And that he had, because he was taking that stand, he was backing away from his support of Israel. He was putting his life in danger. And Candace Owens even said that. Here she is.
I actually believe that this was a military hit that involved foreign actors and also literal actors. I believe that day ran something akin to JFK's assassination.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay. In other words, a grand conspiracy. So that's what she's saying. And then you have to ask the question, now wait a second. TPUSA, what the heck are you doing? Absolutely nothing. I don't see anybody from TPUSA pushing for an investigation into Charlie Kirk's assassination. They're just towing the line, going along with the official narrative about Tyler Robinson, and we all know, but you don't have to be a high school graduate to figure out that whole narrative makes no sense whatsoever, and everybody's seeing it. And yet TPUSA is strangely silent. TPUSA has all the videos, all those cameras that they got, high-resolution footage of Charlie's assassination, and yet none of them have been released. Why? Why do you suppose TPUSA is covering that up? Why is it that they're remaining strangely silent? Why is it that they're going after and attacking Candace Owens for doing the job that they should be doing? Why do you suppose that is? Have they been compromised? Well, we know that TPUSA was heavily embedded with Israelis. We know that. That's a no-brainer. So the point is how much of that of the Israeli influence was embedded there? And are there members of TPUSA are in fear for their lives if they open their mouths? And meanwhile, they're still going after Candace Owens. She said that she had a dream. Here's what she said about her dream.
Like I just said, had a vivid dream this weekend, and Charlie came to me and he told me that he was betrayed. And so for me, you don't have to believe that, but I do believe that. And it was the immediate sense I got, actually, And I don't know who exactly it is that betrayed him, but I also felt in the dream that it is soon going to be revealed, that it's actually inevitable that it is going to be revealed, that there is nothing and no one that is going to stop the truth from coming out, and it is going to have international consequences.
Yes.
Take that to the bank. Quote me on that.
And I will. Absolutely. And if you stop and think about it, Charlie Kirk had so much influence, not just here in this country, but all over the world. I mean, and the whole world wants to know what the heck happened. And I'll tell you something, folks, as the truth starts to come out, if this indeed was a military-grade operation, and it has all the hallmarks of it, think about all the TPUSA supporters that are going to be absolutely infuriated, not just here in this country, but all over the world. And like I said, people are starting to figure this out. People are starting to understand that, yes, we have been psyopped big time. As a matter of fact, I'm going to play this. This is somebody who is basically saying, yes, we've all been messed with. We've been psyopped. Here it is.
We all have been sold the biggest con of our entire life. And this is that the problem is left versus right, or Republicans versus Democrats. And that is the distraction fireworks show that they want us screaming about while they're doing something else.
Okay, I'm going to pause it right there. Where have you heard that before? Remember last week I was talking about the horizontal conflict? Right versus left, left versus right? That's horizontal. That's not going to solve the problem. That creates more problems. The powers that be want those problems. They want the conservatives and the liberals going at each other. They want us fighting against each other. Divided we fall. Yes, they want that horizontal conflict, that horizontal war, that civil war. But I'm telling you, folks, if we want to get any change, it's got to be vertical. It has to be bottom to top. We need to go after the people who are pulling the strings and manipulating the conservatives and manipulating the liberals, making them hate each other. That's the name of the game.
And this is a magician's trick, and I'm about to really show you what Charlie has kind of exposed here. If you turned on cable news today, you go in your living room, turn it on, maybe you scroll social media, what are you going to see? The absolute fringe. They're going to show you the loudest, dumbest, most cartoonish people from the other side blasted in your face 24/7. You're not being shown your neighbor or your coworker or the mom next door who votes differently. You're being shown a bunch of professional lunatics that are handpicked to make you think one thing. And the one big thing that they want you to think is, oh my God, these people are insane. They are the enemy. That's the reason that we're going downhill. And none of this is an accident. This is word for word textbook psychological operations. And military psyops manuals literally describe how you isolate a target audience, then you pump them full of a bunch of outrage, you create a tribal us versus them identity. This is straight out of a psyops textbook. So why would we want to do this? Or why would psyops want to do this? Because once you're locked into tribal thinking, you're going to swallow anything. You're going to believe any lie about the other side. You're going to cheer when other people suffer. You'll excuse things that you would never excuse in your own neighborhood if you watched it right in front of you and it was one of your neighbors. This is exactly the playbook on how you get otherwise decent, kind people laughing at a murder on the internet. That is how you radicalize a country without firing a shot.
Bingo. Boy, truer words were never spoken. That's exactly what's going on. That's exactly, what the playbook calls for. Get the right and the left to take each other out. And it's really hard for people to wake up. It really is. I mean, I know a lot of people who are living in their bubble. And to a certain extent, I respect that. People don't want to have to live their lives in constant fear and anxiety and worry and all that. I get it. I totally get it. But unfortunately, sooner or later, reality is going to hit them right between the eyes. And the longer they put it off, the harder that hit is going to come. And I mean, think about it. How would you feel if you found out that your spouse had been cheating on you? Not just cheating on you recently, but cheating on you since you were married. 5 years, 10 years, you find out that they've been carrying on, and you feel betrayed. You feel like you've been stabbed in the back. You feel like you've been kicked in the stomach. Well, I'll tell you, the longer we all put off the awakening process, the harder that kick is going to be and the deeper that knife is going to feel. And people have to wake up. It's not easy, folks. I know it's terrifying, it's depressing, etc., but the longer we put it off, the worse it's going to be. But people are waking up. The awakening process is really difficult.
To all my friends out there who know what is really going on, to all my conspiracy theorist friends, sometimes it's a curse and not a blessing to be awake. In my over 45 years of behind-the-scenes invisible intelligence work, I feel compelled to share the following for your consideration. Awakening is the most liberating, alienating, excruciating, empowering, lonely, confusing, freeing, frightening, expansive journey. And if you find yourself struggling, trying to process all this insanity, believe me when I say you are not alone. No one talks about the darkness that accompanies awakening or the grief we go through, not only grieving the life and illusions that you once had, but the realization that almost everything you thought you knew is a lie. The beliefs you've held, people you've trusted, principles you were taught, all lies. Shattering illusions is never an enjoyable experience. There is a considerable amount of discomfort that comes with growth, and the grieving process doesn't stop there. With these newfound realizations, you will find yourself grieving all over again. Grieving the loss of many relationships with people who just don't get it. Feeling alone, being ridiculed and shamed, not only by the masses, but for many of you, your very own family and friends too. Feeling like you no longer have much in common with the people you're surrounded by. Struggling with carrying on bullshit, shallow conversations that lack substance with those who are still fast asleep. Even feeling disconnected from your entire support system because they can't see what you see. Some even grieve the loss of their ignorance because ignorance is bliss and reality is harsh. Awakening can be a lonely road, and you will often find yourself journeying alone. There's no way to sugarcoat it. Awakening to the realities of this world is brutal. It will have you running through the entire gamut of human emotions. You have to master the art of diving down the darkest of rabbit holes only to come out and still function in daily life.
Yeah.
And that's a skill people don't talk about enough. Some of you are or will struggle with feeling disconnected from family and friends. It's as though they exist in another world. Please know you are not alone. And not only are you not alone, you have an entire group of like-minded folks standing with you. You may be separate, we may be separated by miles, but we are deeply connected in mind, purpose, and spirit. God loves you, and so do I. Signed, Dave.
Signed, Dave. Well, it wasn't this Dave, but it could have been. It's the same story. But he's absolutely right. This is a difficult process for us all to go through. And like I said, it feels like being kicked in the stomach and stabbed in the back. And then when you try to, to communicate to your friends and your family, and they look at you like like you're crazy. It's not easy. It really isn't. But sooner or later, reality is, the chickens are going to come home to roost, as they say. And, we also have to come to grips with the idea that if we're not actively participating in trying to stop this, if we're not part of the solution, then we're part of the problem. And I've said this, numerous times. I've been posting on social media, if God is looking down at your life, and this is a test, well, humanity, you're failing miserably. And that's true. The young woman posted the following. Listen to this.
The reason why Gaza is such an outrage is not because it's the worst thing that's ever happened to humanity, or even because it's the worst thing that's happening to humanity right now as you watch this video. For example, Sudan has been at the 5th stage of starvation for a year. Gaza only just reached the 5th stage. So what makes Gaza so gruesome and so unbearable
the media
is that it's televised.
Yeah.
Everybody knows about Gaza. It's not tucked away in some isolated area in Africa. The world cannot pretend that it doesn't know, meaning that Gaza is a case study in what humans will do when it's undeniable that children are suffering immensely. Since this conflict broke out in 2023, the elites have been testing humanity to see how much we will let them get away with. As a collective, we have failed that test. So if you find yourself scrolling past a child suffering in Gaza and you think to yourself, this will never happen in the West, well, think again, because they now know that they can get away with genocide in plain sight.
Yep.
The greatest crime that happened in Gaza isn't that genocide happened. It's that it happened in plain sight and the world did nothing to stop it. If you read or watch about World War II and you find yourself thinking, man, if I was alive back then, I would have stopped it. I would have said something. You're alive right now. You're seeing it right now. And staying silent makes you no better than the perpetrators.
That's right. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. Silence is consent. That's where we're at. And this is why, I was inspired and charged with the duty of going back on the air 2 years ago. I swore I would never do it again. After what happened all during the late 90s and early 2000s and, being on the front lines and, taking all the heat and then I just said, the heck with it. I can't do this anymore. But anyway, I was charged to come back, throw my hat back into the broadcasting ring, and now I'm, screaming from the rooftops again to both listeners. Anyway, no, it's crazy that people are, they see what's going on, but they just turn and look away. They just look away. But I got to tell you, you want to talk about God's chosen people? Chris Hedges, by the way. Chris Hedges was a New York Times publisher, writer, for years. He won Pulitzer Prizes for his work. But when he insisted on continuing to be a journalist when the New York Times wanted propagandists, they cut him loose. They said, no, we don't need journalism anymore. We have our narratives that we have to push. So they let him go. And what happened is RT, the Russian news network, Russia Today, they offered him a platform. And they did the same thing with Rick Sanchez, former big guy from CNN. And they did the same thing with Larry King. And they did the same thing with Governor Jesse Ventura. I mean, all these people now, they're all labeled as Russian agents, right? Yeah, no, RT just gave them a platform because they weren't allowed to speak in the United States anymore. But anyway, Chris Hedges, oh gosh, they were dropping leaflets in Gaza. Now wait till you hear, these are leaflets that were dropped in Gaza for the Palestinians. Chris Hedges is reading one of the pamphlets, one of the leaflets that was dropped in Gaza. Now keep in mind that the Israelis dropped the Israelis, God's chosen people, they dropped all these leaflets in Gaza. Here's what the leaflet said.
The Israelis demand of the Palestinians, run for your lives. Run from Rafah, the way you ran from Gaza City, the way you ran from Jabalia, the way you ran from Deir al-Bala, the way you ran from Beit Hanun, the way you ran from Han Yunis. Run, or we will kill you. We will drop GBU 39 bombs on your tent encampments and set them ablaze. We will spray you with bullets from our machine gun-equipped drones. We will pound you with artillery and tank shells. We will shoot you down with snipers. We will decimate your tents, your refugee camps, your cities, your towns, your homes, your schools, your hospitals, and your water purification plants. We will rain death from the sky. Run for your lives. Again, and again and again. Pack up the few belongings you have left. Blankets, a couple of pots, some clothes. We don't care how exhausted you are, how hungry you are, how terrified you are, how sick you are, how old you are, how young you are. Run, run, run. And when you run in terror to one part of Gaza, we will make you turn around and run to another, trapped in a labyrinth of death, back and forth, up and down, side to side, 6, 7, 8 times. We toy with you like mice in a trap, then we deport you so you can never return, or we kill you. Let the world denounce the genocide. What do we care? The billions in military aid flows unchecked from our American ally, the fighter jets, the artillery shells, the tanks, the bombs, an endless supply. We kill children by the thousands. We kill women and the elderly by the thousands. The sick and the injured without medicine and hospitals die. We poison the water. We cut off the food. We make you starve. We created this hell. We are the masters. Law, duty, a code of conduct. They do not exist for us. But first, we toy with you. We humiliate you. We terrorize you. We revel in your fear. We are amused by your pathetic attempts to survive. You are not human. You are creatures, Untermensch. We feed our lust for domination. Look at our posts on social media. They have gone viral. One shows soldiers grinning in a Palestinian home with the owners tied up and blindfolded in the background. We loot rugs, cosmetics, motorbikes, jewelry, watches, cash, gold, antiquities. We mock your misery. We cheer your death. We celebrate our religion, our nation, our identity, our superiority by negating and erasing yours. Depravity is moral. Atrocity is heroism. Genocide is redemption.
So what do you think of that? Those are God's chosen people? You got to ask the question, which God? And I don't think that you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure it out. These are the imposters in Israel. They call themselves Jews, but they are not. Like I said, people are figuring out who the Khazarians are, who the Ashkenazis are. Eastern Europeans who basically converted to Judaism, and they never had any connection whatsoever with the Middle East. None. Zero. Zip. Nada. And yet they are laying claim to the Palestinian land, saying that they have a connection going back 3,500 years. That's what Netanyahu said. They're liars. As a matter of fact, Jesus even tried to tell you. And again, I can't help but think that Charlie Kirk was noticing. He was understanding. In John 8:44, Jesus was talking to the Pharisees. I quote, "Ye are of your father the devil, and the lusts of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it." Those are the words of Jesus, or Yeshua. So, are we putting the puzzle pieces together yet? Are folks figuring out that the Israelis, I can't find the words how they could justify this. But then again, if Lucifer or Moloch is their God, well, then it makes perfect sense, because they believe in human sacrifice, and every time a child is killed in Gaza, that's another sacrifice. And the sad thing is that so many Israelis have been brainwashed into thinking that that's the way it ought to be. As a matter of fact, I have a clip here. John Mearsheimer had a couple of clips. The first thing you're going to hear is from Moshe Flegelin. And let me see. Okay, let me just play this. This is the mindset of some of the Israelis. Listen up.
The Israelis demand of the Palestinians.
Oh, that's the wrong one. Okay, let's see. Here it is.
Every child in Gaza is the enemy, and not a single Gazan child should remain there. We need to conquer Gaza and settle it.
Okay, right there. He says that the children are the enemy.
File all of this under the Nazification of Israel. That's where it should be filed. This is a country that's gone completely off the rails, and the more that you see it in operation, the more it looks like the Germans under Hitler.
Okay, that's John Mearsheimer. Okay, he's pointing it all out.
This is just hard to believe. We're talking about eradicating all of the Palestinians in Gaza, murdering them. This is hard to believe.
I just think we need to kill them, every one of them, and that's it.
Okay, this is a young woman here in Israel. She's saying that we have to kill them, every single one of them. That's it.
We need to destroy their offspring to prevent them from creating more offspring.
This is the sort of things that the Germans did. It's supposed to be never again. I don't see any evidence that people in Israel believe in the principle of never again, certainly when it applies to the Palestinians.
Yeah, never again. Well, I guess what never again means is never again gas chambers. And by the way, more and more researchers are finding out that those gas chambers weren't gas chambers after all. So, and how do they get away with it? Because they've convinced themselves that they are above all other. They don't even call them human beings. They say the Palestinians are dogs. They're less than human. They're goyim. And if you're not one of them, if you're not one of the believers, if you're not one of the Israelis, you too are goyim. You are subhuman. And that's why they don't pay any attention to the Human Rights Commission, because they don't believe that these subhumans have any human rights because they're not human. That's what they believe. That's what they get away with. I mean, this is staggering that anybody could be that brainwashed. But yeah, let me see here. I think I already played the Max Blumenthal thing. Oh yeah, no, I didn't think I did. Okay, well, let me see. I may have repeated this. Max Blumenthal was discussing the situation over there in Gaza, and here's basically what he had to say. Somebody was bringing up the October 7th attack, and he's not buying it. Listen up.
Of course, war is horrible, so why did the Palestinians initiate this war with their vicious attack on Israelis on October 7th?
Well, they didn't.
What do you mean they didn't?
They didn't.
She says, what do you mean they didn't? And there are actually people out there that believe that this entire thing started on October 7th. No, hardly.
War has been going on for 75 years. Israel initiated it in 1948 by ethnically cleansing 750,000 people. We must expel Arabs.
Get out of here.
We must expel Arabs and take their places. We must expel Arabs and take their places, and if we have to use force, not to dispossess the Arabs of the Negev and Transjordan, but to guarantee our own right to settle in those places, then we have force at our disposal. David Ben-Gurion, the first prime minister of Israel, said that in 1937, and that's what they proceeded to do. The people in Gaza, this is what you need to understand. The people in Gaza, over 80% of them are refugees. Many of them are from a place called Majdal Asqalon in what is now southern Israel, in a city called Ashkelon. And they were dragged from their homes and driven from their homes, placed in prison camps, barbed wire prison camps, and then dumped in trucks in 1950 into the Gaza Strip, where they would be permanently warehoused. And then Israel proceeded to move Arab, Jewish refugees and Russians into Ashkelon to prevent them from ever coming back, and pass laws to prevent Arabs, Palestinians from being able to return to their homes. 750,000 were ethnically cleansed. For 18 years, the remaining Palestinians, 100,000, were internally displaced inside Israel. The remaining were put under military rule. They were under military occupation until 1966. Then in 1967, Israel violently, in a war it initiated, occupies Gaza, occupies the West Bank, occupies the Sinai Peninsula, the Golan Heights in East Jerusalem, and then invades Lebanon in 1982, attacking Palestinian refugees there, puts Gaza under siege in 2005. No one can get in or out without Israeli military permission. We must kill and kill all day, every day. That's according to Arnon Sofer, an Israeli government consultant who helped devise the siege of Gaza. For years, Israel would not allow certain chocolates and A2 paper into Gaza. And then they began these brutal military assaults, which they call mowing the lawn. Slaughtering a few people will leave Hamas intact, but teach them a lesson. And I talked to you about those assaults that took place on Gaza. So this didn't come out of a vacuum. You're not going to be able to hold people under siege, to cut them off from the world, and then expect them to just play along. That doesn't mean that I celebrate what happened on October 7th. It should have never had to happen. The reason it happened is because of the Israel lobby here, the genocide Democrats and the genocide Republicans who deny the Palestinians any right to have rights. And it's the right to have rights that defines you as a citizen. They're citizens of nothing. And now we see what Israel really thinks of them, really thinks of their children. Gaza has become a graveyard for children, according to UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. So this didn't start on October 7th, and it's not going to end when there's a ceasefire.
He's right. He's absolutely right. And like I said, people are noticing. They're putting the puzzle pieces together and they're figuring it all out. And once again, I'm putting it out there. Any members of Congress who are accepting money from AIPAC and marching to their tune, you are committing treason. And all you people who are accepting $7,000 for every pro-Israel post, you are committing treason. And the rest of the world sees, screams death to America, death to Israel. They have good reason to be screaming that. I don't want to see death to America. I want to see America, resurrect from the ashes like the phoenix. But right now, we're in ashes. This country is doomed unless we turn this all around. Anyway, I'm going to take a quick break, and when I come back, I have a very stark warning for you. Stay tuned.
Get More Tank will save you money every month on gas. Get More Tank is a tablet with active ingredients that adds big mileage to every tank. Made in America, the Get More Tank formula is used by trucking companies and heavy industry. Now the Get More Tank formula is available to you. Get More Tank works in any gas or diesel engine, cleans your engine, lowers emissions, and you'll feel improved engine performance every time you step on the gas. Get More Tank works for cars, trucks, boats, motorcycles, four-wheelers, mowers, and blowers. Hey, if you got an engine, then Get More Tank. Contractors, electricians, plumbers, painters, and lawn service companies, Get More Tank will save you money and extend the life of your engines. If you're an owner-operator running your big rig around the town or across the country, Get More Tank will save you money too. If you're a farmer, all of your equipment can use Get More Tank. A 5-pack on sale at GetMoreTank.com for just $22.22 plus shipping. Use the promo code REDPILL101 and get 10% off. Save your money, save your engine, save the earth at GetMoreTank.com. Get More Tank is EPA registered, doesn't void warranties, results vary.
And if you haven't gotten any of this stuff yet, what are you waiting for? Go to our website, TheWTFReports.com, click on the sponsors button, and it'll take you down to a window where you can click on it, and it'll tell you all about Get More Tank, all the specifications and details, how and why it works. And of course, depending upon your make, model, and year, and your driving habits, you will see an improvement in your mileage. So, hey, spend $20, Get More Tank, try this stuff out. You won't be sorry. This is a no-brainer. It's a win-win situation. And I wouldn't be hawking this stuff if I didn't believe in it. And that's why I only have a couple of sponsors, because I believe in them. Anyway, that said, okay. Now, what happens when you get a wild animal cornered? They lash out, right? Well, unfortunately, I think that we are approaching this particular situation with Israel because they are being exposed. They are being outed. People are coming to realize exactly what Israel is, and our elected officials know it. And a lot of them are trying to figure out, how am I going to get out of this situation? Well, they're going to have to deal with one of those three tools that's been used against them all these years.
Bribery, coercion, blackmail.
Yeah, well, we've already talked about the bribery part, AIPAC and all the money that's being thrown at them. And then there's the coercion issue. Okay, so what happened when they had the congressional break, and they took a whole bunch of Republicans and sent them over there to Israel free of charge, free airfare, free hotels, 5-star restaurants, beautiful women that are dressed up in IDF uniforms. I'm sure that they were read the riot act and say, hey, look at, if you don't play along with us, it'd be a shame if something happened to your family. Yeah, that's the coercion part. And then there's the blackmail. Of course, there are a lot of deviants that are out there that have been caught in compromising positions, and they're on videotape. Jeffrey Epstein and others. Well, I'll tell you, they're being backed into a corner here, and I can't help but think that they may exercise the Samson option. Now, let's keep in mind, folks, that before these evil monsters do what they're going to do, they have to drop a little hint. They have to tell you what they're going to do. And Bibi Netanyahu is no exception to that rule. I mean, he wrote a book back in 1995 discussing the World Trade Center. And as a matter of fact, he even talked about it. Here he is.
I said that the West really doesn't understand militant Islam. So I wrote a book in 1995, and I said that if the West doesn't wake up to the suicidal nature of militant Islam, the next thing you'll see is the militant Islam is bringing down the World Trade Center in the 19...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, blame it on the militant Islamists. Osama bin Laden, the Taliban, Osama bin Laden, the Taliban, Osama bin Laden. Well, now we're finding out that, that didn't happen. It didn't go down the way they said. And yours truly did not one, but two documentaries about this. The first one was 9/11 in Plain Sight, and then the sequel was 9/11 Ripple Effect. And you can watch both of them. If you go to my website, davevonKleist.com, and click on the 9/11 button, you can watch them for free. I told you about this crap 20 years ago. But now you're a conspiracy theorist. Okay, yeah, right. Well, you just heard Bibi Netanyahu talking about his book that he wrote back in 95, saying, you're going to find out about the Islamic terrorists when they bring down the World Trade Center. Well, Glorioski, what do you know? 6 years later, that's exactly what happened. So basically, he's trying to tell you what's going to happen. So now, what do you suppose is going to happen next? What do you suppose is going to happen? What do you think Bibi Netanyahu and his regime is going to do if all of a sudden the whole world is starting to notice, there's that word again, the whole world is noticing who and what they really are? Well, he basically spelled it out. A couple days ago in an interview, he told you what's going to happen. Listen to this.
Iran is developing now ballistic missiles that are intercontinental ballistic missiles for 8,000
Okay, well, I'm going to stop it here. I want to start that over again. Remember, for the past 20 years, Netanyahu has been screaming, Iran is only a couple of months away from a nuclear bomb. He was saying that, 25 years ago. Now they're only weeks away from a nuclear bomb. They're only days away from a nuclear bomb. Over and over and over for the past 20 years, he's been screaming, Iran, nuclear bomb. Now, Iran's the threat. We have to take out Iran. Oh, by the way, what was it, the day that Charlie Kirk was assassinated? Israel bombed 7 countries. Oh, they want peace. Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, right. But anyway, listen again, think, and pray. Again, here's Bibi Netanyahu basically talking about Iran. Oh, I hit the wrong button. Okay, let's try that again. Here it is.
Iran is developing now ballistic missiles that are intercontinental ballistic missiles for 8,000 kilometer range. What does that mean? They add another 3,000 kilometers, and they've got under their atomic guns, in New York City in target, Washington, Boston, Miami, Mar-a-Lago.
Mar-a-Lago,
okay. So that is a very great danger. You don't want to be under the nuclear gun of these people who are not necessarily rational and who chant death to America.
So what's he telling you? What do you suppose Bibi Netanyahu is telling you right now? Is it possible? I mean, they're certainly not not beyond having a false flag attack. No, they would never do that. So what's he telling you? He's telling you that it's possible that we may have a nuclear missile hit Boston or New York or Washington, D.C. or Miami or Mar-a-Lago. Is this a threat? Think about it, folks. Does Iran have that nuclear capability at this point? I mean, they've allowed UN inspectors to go in there. And that's not something that the Israelis have allowed. No, they've never had a nuclear inspection. So who do you think the real threat is from? Well, and again, when you get a wild animal cornered, what do you suppose that wild animal is going to do? Well, the bottom line here is that people, not just in this country, but all over the world, are starting to notice. They're figuring it out. And I think that Charlie Kirk had figured it out too. And yes, I do believe that people in the organization, in the higher-up organization of the TPUSA, are involved. That's my own personal belief. I can't point my accusatory finger in any one direction, Josh. But I do believe that they're involved in the cover-up because it's always deeds, not words. And again, I reiterate, I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but how come TPUSA isn't spearheading the investigation? Nothing from them. How come TPUSA didn't release the videos? None. How come they're going after Candace Owens and Ryan Mata and Tucker Carlson and anybody else who happens to raise questions about the official narrative? They're attacking them, ridiculing them, threatening them. Why do you suppose that is? If it's deeds and not words, then what the heck is TPUSA doing? And what do you suppose is going to happen for the millions of Americans and people around the world when they figure this out? That TPUSA has been compromised, and maybe, as Candace Owens was saying, that Charlie came to her in a dream and said he was betrayed. Well, again, if it's deeds and not words, I think it's not too hard to figure out that that may be the case. Because Israel, we're talking about madmen here. This is, and they continually say that they are God's chosen people. And again, deeds, not words. Is this how God would want people to be treated? Bombing, starving, sniping? Are these God's chosen people? I don't know, man. I don't mean to be standing on the soapbox and screaming about this stuff, but I mean, this is not hard. This is not rocket science, folks. It's not hard to put the puzzle pieces together and think outside of the cage, especially in light of the fact that now there are videos from the Israeli Apache attack helicopters showing that they were mowing down the concert goers. And yes, they blamed it on Hamas. And again, I reiterate that the video footage of the flyover of all the damage at that concert, half of those cars were melted, which means direct energy weapons were used. Do you think Hamas has access to that technology? I don't think so. And then we've got the IDF soldiers, many of them basically testifying that yes, they were told to stand down. Yes, they were told to abandon their posts. Yes, that entire strip of the wall was totally shut down. Why do you suppose that was? Well, I suppose maybe it had something to do with a final push to take over all of Palestine and gain control of all that land that's sitting over the oil, the gas. Yeah, maybe that might have something to do with it. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up. I hope I'm providing you with some food for thought, folks. And again, I don't hate Jews. I want to make sure that we're all clear on that. But the Old Testament Jews, the Jews of the Torah, are not the Jews of the Talmud. Yeah. And unfortunately, those are the ones that are the imposters, and those are the ones who have taken control. Anyway, that's enough of that. All right, that's going to wrap it up for today's installment of the WTF Reports. If you're enjoying the broadcast, please tell your friends, word of mouth. And if you're listening on BitChute or YouTube or Rumble, hey, click like, share, and subscribe. And like I said, word of mouth, tell people. All right, that said, that's going to wrap it up for today's installment of the WTF Reports. I'm Dave vonKleist. I'll be back again tomorrow. So until then, God bless you all. Stay safe, stay free, and I'll see you tomorrow.